Hello everyone and welcome. It's Shanna. I'm so glad you're here today. Now today we're working with some new product from Spellbinders. I had it upside down and turned around. And we have got the Fountain Wishes here, and this is really fun. This is like a malt glass or a soda glass, old school soda glass, or a milkshake glass. And it's got a little straw in it. You've got a candle. You have a waffle cone. You've got your fudge for the top of your milkshake. You've got a cherry, we've got a balloon, and we've got a cute little bird with a hat. And there are 22 cutting dies in here, and there's lots to work with. Now, it also has a coordinating better press plate that is called Fountain Wishes Cinnamons, and there are 5 different cinnamons that you can use with this set. And I've already got them pressed and cut out. We've got a little bird told me it was your birthday, a little treat for a big day. Have the happiest day ever because you're the cherry on top and have the sweetest birthday. And those are the cinnamons. And we're just going to work with this today. So I'm going to take my dies and I'm going to drag in some scrap cardstock. And I've sped it up because I'm bringing in a lot of pieces and I want to show you what I'm using. So I've laid the straw down on Bellini and I'm laying the cup down on Oceanside. And I'm also going to put the bird's feather there. I'll wind up changing it to, I think, Teal Topaz. And I'm bringing in another sheet of Bellini, and we're going to use that for like our milkshake, the inside of our cup. And we'll use it. And then I'm going to bring in a pink. And this is, what is this pink? I think it is blush. And we're going to use it for kind of like the strawberry portion of our ice cream or soda. And then we've got this, which is the, like your whipped topping. And so I'm going to my scrap bin and I'm going to grab a piece of white, trim it down, and we'll use that for our whipped topping and the layers of our whipped topping. And I'm just bringing in some craft cardstock here. This isn't Spellbinders. It was just some scrap. We're going to use it for one side of our waffle cone. We're going to use the back side of the waffle cone with the craft, and then we're going to bring in truffle for the front of the waffle cone, and then that will give it some really good dimension. I'm also bringing in some waterfall cardstock and some Teal Topaz scraps, and we're going to die cut out the bird and we're going to die cut out the balloon in Oceanside. We've got the layer of whipped topping. We're going to come back in white. This piece here is the straw. We're going to use some coral, and then we'll use some truffle for it. I'm going to lay it down on the coral, but we'll wind up doing multiple die cuttings for it. And here's our, I believe, our truffle cardstock that we've got there that we're using. And we're just going to continue to lay all of these pieces down on the different colors. And then we'll go to our die cutting machine and we'll get everything die cut out. And then we will come back together and assemble this card. Okay, so here we are. And we've got all of our pieces die cut out. And I've kind of got them laid out here on my desk. Now, I did switch from the Bellini to the waterfall for the straw because I realized that the ice cream and the straw was the same color and I needed some definition. So I'm going to first start off with putting all the little bits and pieces together. All these little tiny parts, and then we'll move on to the glass and all the contents inside of it. So there's some really good etched detail on the waffle cone so that you know exactly where to layer the top layer on there, and it comes together really quickly. Now the balloons have their own string, and I have just chosen to use different colored cardstock for it. And it really has like the knot on it, so it's going to lay on top of the balloon instead of underneath it. And so I'm just putting a little bit of glue just on that kind of the knot area where you would kind of tie your balloon and getting them laid down on there. I chose to do 3 balloons. We've got the Bellini, the coral, and we've got the Oceanside that we're using for our balloons. And then we're just kind of rotating the strings with the different colors. And then I did die cut out 2 of the candles because I wanted to have contrasting stripes on my candles. So I used the truffle and I used the coral. And I'm just going to layer, the die cuts out both pieces at once. So I just die cut out one in the truffle and one in the coral, and then we just are swapping the two, and that way we'll have some, you'll be able to, they'll have some definition on the candles. So I'm just getting them lined up and kind of cleaning up the glue on there. And we're going to move on to our, what have we got here? We're going to take our bird and there's a little like dot where almost like his little cheek there. And I'm going to bring in some of that teal topaz and lay it down on there. And I've chosen to use it for the feathers of the bird as well. I first thought I was going to use the ocean side, and then I decided that I wanted to go with the teal topaz for it and then just use it. Now here I am adding the feet, which I've die cut those out in truffle. I just was using the scraps that I have, and I just decided to use the brown for his feet. And I'm also going to use the brown for the back of his eye. So this white piece here, actually we'll put the white part of the eye on the bird, and then you layer the brown piece up underneath it, and then that will give you your bird's eye color. So you could use any color you wanted. I just, like I said, was using those scraps and just kind of repeating my colors that I'm going to use for my card. So you just layer this up. And then this white piece that does the white of the eye, it actually has a spot for you to lay this beak down on there. Because when you lay the bird's head down, you can see the white. And so you just put the beak on there, and then you can lay the bird on there, and then you've got the eye, the white of the eye, the dark of the eye, and then your beak, and you can just get it on there. And it's super cute. I think it's really fun. A little bird told me it's your birthday. Super cute. So I'm just getting my beak lined up. It moved a little on me when I went to press it. Isn't that cute? The detail is super fun. And then I've die cut out the hat in two different colors. The hat and the decorative piece, I think, are all, let me look at it, are all one die. Yeah, the hat and the tassels from the hat all die cut out. So I die cut it out from the coral color first, and then I went back in and die cut it out from the teal topaz. And I actually decided that I would go ahead and keep that coral one and layer it up, and then it would be like we had like a band around the bottom of our, I just decided to do that to just make it a little bit more interesting. Certainly not how the die goes, but it certainly will work together. So I just thought it would make my hat, my little bird's hat, two-tone, and just kind of make it a little bit more fun. So that's what I'm going to do here. Now, now we're going to start assembling our, I guess, the top of our ice cream, you know, our whipped topping with our fudge on top. And we're going to get it laid down. And then I die cut out a couple of these layers of the whipped topping, and they're going to lay right on top of that piece just underneath the fudge there. And so we'll actually have like 3 layers of that, because we've got the base layer and then these two I'm going to layer on top. So that'll kind of add some dimension to it. It's a super, super fun set. Now, I did work with the some of the other, this is part of the collection. It's called Happier Hour. And it's super fun, and I think this is part of it. Anyway, I did work with some of the other glasses on, actually it was the wedding one, the wedding set. I worked with it, Special Toast Sentiments and a Special Toast, in which you kind of had a fancy glass and stuff. I worked with it on a live, so I'll try to link that up here so you can check it out. And we will be doing the margarita glass as well. That one is called Sip Sip Olay, I think is what that one is called. And it does have a coordinating sentiment set as well that is better pressed. Now here I'm showing you, I did die cut it out in the Bellini, but then I decided it would get lost on my ice cream because it's the same color. So we're going to use this piece that I die cut out here in the waterfall, and we'll just tuck it in and it'll look nice. So I just ran it through there, and I'm just gluing it down my straw down in a couple spots so it'll kind of stay where I want it to go. And then we'll get some glue on here, and we're going to tuck the insides of our ice cream through the this cup here, so that we'll have the rim of the cup behind the milkshake or the malt or whatever you want to call it. So I'm just going to get some glue on here using that fine tip on my glue so that I can keep it, kind of clean. And here's where I'm going to tuck the top of that through the glass, and then we're going to get it lined up on here. It'll take me a minute to get it lined up how I want it, but we'll get there. And just making, lining it up with the bottom and just positioning it and giving it a good pinch. And we've got a good part of our elements assembled there for our soda or our milkshake. So I had a little bit of glue on there when I had to kind of line it up, and so I'm just cleaning that off. And then we're going to just start adding our elements. So here's the cherry, and I just used some dark cranberry for that, and then I used some of the, I think I used the teal topaz for the leaves on it. And we're just going to get it laid down on the top of our milkshake there with our fudge. And I've got my candles, and I'm just playing around right now trying to decide where I want to put them. And I'm realizing, now you could use these for straws if you wanted to, but they have a flame, and I'm looking for the flame that I die cut out. Can't find it. I'm going to go and get a couple, and I'll come back in with them. That's the die, and it cuts out the flame for those. So you could use those short things as a kind of a fun straw, or you can use them as a candle as they're intended. Since I use this, the longer straw, I decided I'm going to use them as candles, and so I'm die cutting out a couple of flames. So we got those die cut out, and we're going to just add them to our candles. And I just used more of that cranberry scrap that I had. You could do yellow and put a little red on the tip or however you want to do it, but I was just using the scraps that I have. I'm trying to kind of pare down my little scrap stash and use those, and so that's what I'm doing here. So I'm just looking at my bits and pieces and cleaning off my desk a little bit and trying to figure out what I'm going to do. So I'm going to bring in that coral, and I'm going to use the, this is the Dots and Posies Duo. And it's actually a 3D embossing folder that's new from Spellbinders that you can get 2 different patterns out of it. Super fun. And I thought it'd be fun to use the dots. So I've just got that coral cardstock laid down on there, and we're going to run it through the die cutting machine. And when I pushed it through, I realized that the top half of it wasn't lined up. So I'm lining it up, and I'm just going to bring it back through. And that way we'll make sure we get our whole panel embossed with the 3D embossed detail. And so we've got it, and it's going to be the base for our card. Now, it's not quite A2 size, and you've kind of got an edge. I didn't get it on there straight, and I have one edge with quite a bit of no embossing on it. So I'm just going to trim it down. I do take this down to 3 3/4 by 5, and then we'll bring in another layer of our waterfall cardstock and put behind there and just create a base, and then we'll lay this on there. But this, I love this dot embossing folder. It really is a fun texture for your card, and I thought it'd be a great texture for the background of a birthday card. So we've got our layers here. I'm just going to bring it in. Now this card base, I'm not sure what happened here, but when I get this waterfall panel laid down on there, I'm going to realize that this card base is about 1/4 of an inch too long. Not sure what happened. I laid it on my mat to see if maybe my teal topaz or my waterfall cardstock was, maybe that panel was not right, but it was right. And when I laid it on here, it's 5 1/2. So I had about 1/4 of an inch too big on my card base. I don't know what I did, but I did something wrong. So we are going to, I'm trimming up a little bit. There was a little smidge of white on there, and I just used my scissors and cut it off. And I'm just, for this one, I'm going to pretty much glue everything down flat. I think I'll add a piece of foam tape on one of the balloons, but otherwise, we're going to lay this down flat. We've got lots of layering on our fountain and our fountain cup, I should say, and so we're just going to glue everything down. Now I've got 3 balloons, and I'm going to cluster them together and put them with our little bird, and then we'll have our soda here. And I've got my waffle. I'm going to tuck that in. I had a little edge of the cup that wasn't full because of how I angled it, and so I'm just going to tuck this waffle cone in there. And then we will add our cherry on top. And then we will bring in our candles. And I'm going to put them on the other side. Since I've got my waffle cone there, I'm just going to put them behind my ice cream. I'm going to stagger them so one's higher than the other. And then we'll just bring our cup in and just attach them like that. And there we go. Going to add a little bit more glue. They felt like they were a little wobbly, so just tucked a little bit more glue in there. Now here I've got the party hat, and I'm going to get it on top of my bird. And I'm going to start eyeballing how I might work this out on my card. And I'll fiddle around with it until I get it exactly how I want it. So I'm going to layer these 3 balloons together and just kind of put them in a little cluster. So I'm just going to press them together with just a little bit of glue. And then this lighter color one, the Bellini, we're going to lay on top. And this is where I decide to stick some foam tape on that and then kind of stick it to the other ones, and then we'll get them laid down on there. And really, that's the only foam tape I used for this, which is unusual. I usually pop up everything. So there we go. Super cute. I love the colors. I think they're fun. And I think they all went nice together. So we'll get some glue on our balloons, and we're going to get them laid down. I first put them too high, and then I'll lower them once I realize that I need to bring them down to where my bird is kind of covering up the strings to them. So I just lightly, I didn't stick it because I just had a little bit of glue on there and then that foam. So I just was able to move it without creating too much problem. Didn't really have a gluey mess or anything from that. And then we're going to get this little bird on there. I think this card is really coming together. I like it. Just get our glass positioned and then get our bird where we want it. I decide to move him back over. And I'm satisfied with how we're going to do this. So we'll get some glue on here and get him laid down on there. And then we'll glue our cup up and get it set down on our card. Such a fun set. The collection is just really, really fun. There we go. So that is pretty much the elements of our card. Now we are going to bring in one of our sentiments that I've already planned ahead, and I couldn't help but use that little bird told me it's your birthday. So I'm going to grab that one out of there, and we're just going to get it laid down on here. I'm going to go kind of across my cup because that's really I guess the best spot for it. I could put it in the upper left-hand corner, but I'm going to put it across the bottom of our cup. And I needed a little foam tape because it's going to hang off. It's going to hang over the sentiment is. So I cut a small foam piece, and I'm going to just put it on each end. Then we'll add some glue, and we'll get it laid down on our card, and that will finish off our card. I actually do decide to bring in some glossy accents and to glossy up the cherry. So we won't do that yet before we finish. And we're just going to get this position, give it a little press. And this is where I decide to grab the glossy accents. So we'll just get a good little swirl on there, and then that'll finish it up. And I was thinking about the flames on the candles, but I decided against it. I thought I'll just do the cherry on top. So I think it turned out really fun. I appreciate you watching. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye now.